I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Unlocked and into the dark, some things are better left unknown, and I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Rip'n Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Rip'n Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Coming to you from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness. This is the Darkwolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live from a secret cave hidden deep within the wilderness of Tennessee. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, We're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are carrying on from our discussion of last night. We are covering the Wisconsin primaries. We found a lot of strangeness. If you have not seen last night's episode, may I please beg that you do go back and check that out. But we've got a whole lot of information to get to tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as well as some late-breaking news from the CDC coming up here in just a moment. But first, let's go ahead and see who all we have out here in our YouTube chat rooms, both on the Rippin' Rabbit Hole as well as the Darkwolf's Den Show YouTube channel. How are you guys doing out here tonight, folks? And it would help if I had the right one on my screen. There is the Darkwolf's Den Show. Got quite a few people over here hanging out. We got Michael Fontaine in the house, says the Duke. That's right, the Duke giving the Pledge of Allegiance there, as we do at the beginning of every episode here on the Darkwolf's Den Show. We also got JoJo's waving in. Verpine, glad to see you. Says, howdy, pilgrims. Howdy, Verpine. Glad to see you, my friend. Also, we got over here just Michael Fontaine and JoJo's chatting it away. So glad to see you guys on the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. We got a few more people. JoJo's also waving in, as well as AJ the Rippin' Rabbit himself. Glad to see you, AJ. We also have Sandy B in the house. Always a pleasure, Sandy B, of course. Who else we got over here? That seems to be it, as well as everybody listening around the world. Guys, we're going to do some stuff a little different tonight. I am so glad to have every one of you guys listening, whether you are on YouTube or around the world on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network at the rippinrabbithole.com, or of course on BitChute or Rumble. We're glad to have every last one of you guys along for the ride, and a wild ride it is, folks. Getting into the news right now, we've got a lot to cover tonight, folks. Late breaking news this evening, like I mentioned a moment ago, from the CDC. They have released new COVID guidelines. This from NPR. New COVID guidelines from CDC focus on individual freedoms. I'm sorry, decisions. My bad, slip of the tongue there. Number one, those exposed to the virus are no longer required to quarantine. There you go. That's definitely one plus. Okay, I'm reading from the CDC, guys, so those on YouTube, if you're listening, please don't kick me for this. Unvaccinated people now have the same guidance as vaccinated people. Students can stay in class after being exposed to the virus. It is no longer recommended to screen those without symptoms. So there you go, folks. New guidance from the CDC. How nice of them. How nice. I'm so glad that we finally have their permission to do what's right. It just warms my little heart, let me tell you. Folks, also, you do want to go on over to the rippinrabbithole.com. That is RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. You're going to go over to the Backstage 24/7 Lounge. You're going to click on that, and you're going to enter the lounge, and there's already a couple of people back there, I do believe. And we will be interacting back there later, so if you want to have your voice heard and what you think about our stories tonight, we would love to hear from you guys. Our next story on the list, interesting, as we were talking about Mr. Michaels yesterday and the information that we were able to uncover as a team about Mr. Michaels, albeit just a little too late. Candidate for Wisconsin governor may have broken election laws. This coming out of Madison, Wisconsin today, thanks to our fellow rabbit flippin' Rob, Rippin' Rabbit Rob. We appreciate you pointing us toward this. The Wisconsin Elections Commission says someone would have to file a formal complaint before Republican candidate for governor Tim Michaels would actually get in trouble. So he's not in trouble yet. It would take somebody actually filing a complaint against him. He won his Tuesday primary contest against former Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Kleefisch. And she did resign the win, so he did win there. The businesswoman invited the media, or the businessman, invited the media to come to watch him vote Tuesday, and in doing so, he showed his completed ballot to the cameras. Which, of course, a lot of us are going, yeah, transparency, that's awesome. However, this is actually illegal. Technically, it's a violation of the Wisconsin election laws. The rule is in place, of course, to keep people from finding out how you voted, to keep from electioneering or paying a person to vote a certain way, proving that you voted the one way or the other. The commission will not take any action, however, unless a complaint is filed. Now, it makes me wonder, that means we the people can file a complaint, a class action complaint, or even a 101 complaint, right? I mean, that's kind of up to we the people, and if we don't like the idea that he has won the governorship. And with Ms. Cleefish withdrawn, it would go to the third in line, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Timothy Rantham. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know how all of that works, of course, but I do know that we in the backstage lounge have been very, very busy little rabbits, doing a lot of digging, folks, just for you guys here on the air so we can share what we found. We found a lot of irregularities. It's amazing what you can do when you have the ability to speak freely, right? Unlike on some platforms, which unfortunately we multicast on, so we will be able to speak freely in the backstage lounge. However, here shortly we will be jumping over there and be on the radio only and away from the multicast over on YouTube. But we found a lot of strangeness. Like, one strange thing that we ran across was the fact that there's no uniformity across the election reporting system. So some of them come out very, very data-like you would expect to see election data, and we'll show you an example of that here shortly. But it comes out like you would pretty well expect it to come out, just a list of information, who voted for what. Then there's another one that looks like somebody got a hold of a box of crayons and went crazy. Very graphed out, different multicolored graphs, and the information straight down the graphs, and it's very much a headache. And one of them is really, really strange. I had to turn my head one way to read one part of it, then in the next section below it I had to turn my head completely the opposite way to read. It was really badly done. But why is there no uniformity in the reporting systems? They should make it easy for people to go back and grab this data all together in one packet. That, in my opinion, should be something that should be in place. I don't know why it's not in place in Wisconsin. Maybe that's something we should take a look at, folks, because we the people make that kind of decision where we need the information. We have the right to the information of our elections, and we should have the right to have them in a very simplified format that we can easily read, not something that looks like a 2-year-old with a box of crayons went crazy. Now, mind you, it was pretty, but I'm not there for the colors. I'm trying to find data, raw data. That's what we depend on here at the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. It's what we're going to show you guys here in a minute, some raw data that we found. But before we get into that, we have to explain a couple things. If you're over on YouTube, you will be able to see us. We're going to be showing our screen over here. I do, unfortunately, for the moment, suggest that you are on YouTube, or at least have your YouTube browser pulled up muted if you're in the backstage area there, where you can see what's going on. I'm not sure if we're playing backstage or not. I do say that. But you can have your radio player on over the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Anyway, I digress. We are going to bring our screen up right now, and we're going to explain a couple things real quick, some things we need to know, some lingo before we get into this. It's always nice to understand what you're looking at, right? And there's some terminology in here that we found that was not actually. Now, I will tell you this. While we were looking into this stuff in the backstage, we were looking the other day at the Racine County specifically and their results. We'll look at that here in a moment. But we don't remember them having the overvote and undervote in there. And the next time we looked at it, it appeared that it was there. Now, we don't know if it was there all the time, if it was a Mandela effect, right? If the data just changed itself. And I only say that half jokingly, right? But seriously, or if they changed the version of the PDF, we don't know for sure why that could have been. And if anybody has any answers to the questions we're asking tonight, we're only asking questions. And if anybody has any of these answers, we would love you to send this information to rippinrabbithole@gmail.com. RIPONRABBITHOLE@gmail.com. We would love to know because if there's a logical explanation, that would be great. That would be absolutely wonderful. But let's get into this information real quick. We are already a quarter of the way through the show, so we are definitely moving right along here. A good little clip. Overvote. This is a word you're going to hear about tonight, at least a little bit. What is an overvote? A ballot showing the selection of more candidates or choices than are allowed in a given race or referendum. So if you've got Tim Michaels and Timothy Rantham on the ticket and you selected both of those instead of one, that's an overvote. You voted too many. Simple. Makes sense, right? Makes sense to me. Very simple information. Undervote. The opposite. A ballot that has been cast but shows no legally valid selection in a given race or referendum. Now, the reason I find this interesting, folks, it has no legal valid selection. So there were people that reported to me, and I can say this is secondhand information. This was reported to me that when they went to fill out their ballot, they were told that they needed to fill out the entire ballot. They couldn't only select just the governor or just the Secretary of State. They were told that their ballot would be invalidated if they did this. They would have to select every single thing on that ticket, or perhaps it would be considered an undervote, right? Now, I'm about to show you why this is very, very important. As we go over here, I'm going to show you, we come from the Wisconsin Election Commission site itself. You can go county by county. And let me make sure, yeah, okay, so both channels are seeing this. Excellent. You can go county by county, up and down the list, and you can look at all the information from each county. We've taken the liberty of pulling up Racine County ourselves. And as we were going through the numbers in Racine County, well, let me tell you, I found some really, really interesting data. Strange, to say the least. And I'm going to show you guys that data right now. So here we go. We've got party preference. This is the max number of people that said they're for one party or the other. Up here at the top, we have the undervotes and the overvotes of all said and done. Only 4 overvotes, 4,000 undervotes. 4,000 people didn't quite fill the ballot out correctly, perhaps. That's a pretty big number. But the numbers get even crazier. So let's grab the Republican candidate party preference. 21,725 people have the party preference. Remember, they had to fill out their whole ballot. Remember that. So they preferenced the Republicans, 21,725 people. So let's go ahead and grab our calculator here, which I happen to already have open. How convenient. Magic, right? Grabbing our calculator here. I want to check our time real quick. We are good. Let's go ahead and fill this number in, 21,725. Now, here's where the funny stuff comes in. We're going to scroll all the way down this list because we've got each one listed out. These are for the Democrat side of the voting. Now we've got in the governorship and the lieutenant governorship. I want to show you guys something really, really strange. So let's take 21,725 votes Republican, right? That's what we should have here. However, the total Republican governor votes was 25,570. What's the difference of 21,725 and 25,570? Okay, let me try that again, because my calculation apparently did not go right. So don't you love it when the calculator is only as smart as you tell it to be? 21,725 minus 25,570 equals 3,845. Okay, so we've got 3,845 too many votes. Now let's look at our undervotes and overvotes. Well, there's only 220 undervotes, 3 overvotes, so that's 223. That doesn't account for our thousands we're missing. You know, I really found something that did, though. When I went down and looked at lieutenant governor, I couldn't believe my eyes, because the exact number of overvotes for the lieutenant governor is 3,846. Our number was 3,845. That's less than a 1% degree of error, folks. That's one off. Pretty close. It's not 100%. I will give you that. However, you want to see it 100%? Let's do the same thing down here. We have 21,945 people that voted in the lieutenant governor Republican side. So our original number was 21,725. Let's subtract, and there ain't going to be much left over, but let's subtract 21,945. That leaves 220. Want to see a really, really wild coincidence that I don't call a coincidence? The exact number of undervotes for the governor is 220. So let me get this straight. The difference in votes, the 3,000 votes that are extra for the governorship, are on the undervotes of the lieutenant governor. The undervotes of the lieutenant governor is where the missing votes for the governor is sitting. -1. So the difference in votes between the lieutenant governor and our original Republican number is the exact number of undervotes for the governor. Is that a coincidence, or are they playing with numbers? I don't know. I'm asking a question. Let's go over here and see what you guys think about this in the chat room real quick. I haven't really checked the chat really a lot this episode. Let's see what you guys have over here. Flippin' Rob, glad to see you. 50 Shades of Diarrhea. What a name. Glad to see you also. Wow. Sounds like Taco Bell on a bad night. Biz Wolfer over in the DarkWolf's Den Show chat. Let's see what you guys said. No one picked in a race. Something smells rotten in Denmark, says Jojo. I agree, Jojo's. Something smells very, very rotten in Denmark. A battleground state where they've decided to play with the numbers. I don't know that for a fact. What I do know for a fact is I've just shown you guys on the screen in real time how strange these numbers are. I don't know about you, but things to me don't add up correctly when you start looking at it. Number one, we have too many votes for governor, and that difference in votes happens to be on the undervotes of the lieutenant governor. We have a difference in the number of Republicans and the number that voted for lieutenant governor. So not everybody voted for lieutenant governor. A little strange. But the difference just happens to be in the undervotes of the governor. I can't emphasize how strange that is, folks. That's weird. That's really weird. I don't believe in coincidences. Maybe this is just a coincidence of the numbers, but we don't find the same thing when we look at the Democrats' numbers. Nowhere near it. So what happened? Can we say something may have happened? Yeah, this is one small piece of data. We have went through a number of counties. And I'll tell you something else we have found, something very interesting. That differential number like we've seen there with the governor, let's do this again. Let's do that same math so we can get down to that 3,000 number. Or see if I've got the math already over here. Yes. So it was 21,725 minus 25,570, right? 3,845. Well, let's divide that by the 21,725, just for giggles. 17.69%, 18%. Now, what I find strange is this 18% is not only in Racine. I found this number. We found this number as a team backstage in the group researching. We found this number in a number of counties. Now, it's not 100% across every county. I will preface that to be faithful and fair to the news. I cannot say it's 100% across all of them. There's a percentage differential. I found 12% on some. I found 18 on others. But it's a narrow band. Perhaps I'm on to nothing. Perhaps I'm just rooting up the wrong tree. I'm not saying it right. I'm asking questions, as we all should, right? And with things like this out there, with these questions not yet answered, should the election be certified? Or should we, the people, start calling the election commission and having our questions answered by them? Our local election commission, perhaps. Or even, is there a Maine, Wisconsin? I'm not 100% sure. But call the Wisconsin Election Commission. Ask them. Call your local election office. Ask them. Let them know what you think about this. Tell them you also have seen some strange things. See if they can explain it. Perhaps we're wrong. I don't know. But you guys know that music means we have to go ahead and take a network break right here. So my name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you're listening to the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show, the State Wisconsin Primary Part 2. What do we do now? What do we do now? We will get into in the second half. Make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But my name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you're listening to the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show exclusively on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, the RipandRabbitHole.com. We'll be right back with the second half of the Darkwolf's Den Show right after these messages. Stick around. Don't touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh, yeah. Jerry Hicks on a Thursday night. Hi, everyone. It's AJ, the Rippin' Rabbit. Are you enjoying tonight's Darkwolf's Den Show? The Wisconsin Primary Recap, Episode 2? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to hop on over to our website, RipandRabbitHole.com. That's RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. There you can sign up for your exclusive backstage VIP pass. It's going to give you unfiltered access down the rabbit hole to where the conversation continues after the show. I gotta say, it's incredible what has been taking place in the backstage VIP lounge. Of course, our cam and microphone chat area where you can join the conversation, where the conversation continues after the show. We've had such incredible researchers working on a number of rabbit holes over the past 72 hours. My top hat's off to you, JoJo's, and Marie, and Brock, and Alan, and Orlando, and Rob, and Tammy. And we are discovering things, folks, together as a group. And it's such an enlightenment to be able to hear the different ideas shared there in the backstage lounge. So I take my top hats off to all of you gathered there and that have been gathering there as we continue to dive deep down these rabbit holes. Speaking of which, the Freedom Flame Friday series continues again yet tomorrow, Friday, August 12th, episode 10. Can you believe it? It's been 10 episodes every Friday as we've dove through the rabbit holes of the many different synonyms of the word freedom. And tomorrow night will be no exception with verification. I do have a couple of scheduling announcements to relate to you. Sandra, who we told you about last night, Sandra Scholes, has canceled. Instead, Chris Connell will be on the show tomorrow night. Chris is a huge patriot who ran for assembly. He is an, quote, anti-establishment Republican, end quote. And also a correction, last night we told you Rob Murphy runs the Facebook page Recipes for Freedom, Fond du Lac County. That is not true. Rob is a member of that organization and does not run that organization. Nevertheless, Freedom Flame Friday verification will take place tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. We'll return back now to Jerry Hicks and the Darkwolf's Den Show, the Wisconsin Primary Recap, Part 2, for Thursday, August 11th, 2022. You're listening to the Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, home of the Freedom Flame, RipandRabbitHole.com.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the Darkwolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And welcome back to the second half of the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show for Thursday, August the 11th, 2022. Haha! So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, which I know I've been for a while now, we're glad to have every last one of you guys along for the ride, whether you're on YouTube or around the world on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network at the rippinrabbithole.com, or even on BitChute or Rumble on the replay. We're glad to have all of you guys along. Tonight, folks, we have been diving deep down this rabbit hole of the Wisconsin elections. I do hope that our YouTube feed is still going. I've got so much going on my screen right now. I really haven't been able to go over and check that, but the chat seems to still be active, so hopefully we're still on over there, as we've been talking about some very hot and important information tonight, folks. Late breaking news as it comes available. And if you want to join the conversation and help us research this amazing information, I'm going to go ahead and show all of you guys over on YouTube real quick how to get over to the rippinrabbithole.com backstage lounge. That's right, guys. So what we're going to first do is put a display capture here. See the chat over on the YouTube. Hey, YouTube guys, always great to see you guys. We're going to do a display capture here on both of these. And we're going to go to the rippinrabbithole.com, because Jerry is too quick on the typing. He messed up the... There we go. Jerry needs to get his typing game down a little bit better. Sorry, guys. Got a lot going on here tonight. So this is what your page is going to look like when you get to the rippinrabbithole.com. Of course, our show right there on the top left-hand corner, the Freedom Flame series, as always. We are going to click the sandwich or the hamburger or the drop-down menu, whatever you call that little 3-bar thing. You're going to go down past Listen Live, past Feature News, past the Down the Rabbit Hole, our exclusive social media section, by the way. There we go. And you're going to hit the 24/7 backstage lounge, folks. When you get over there, you're going to see a page that looks like this. You're going to have your radio player there. You'll be able to listen along the whole time if you'd like. Also, at the bottom of every page, you're going to scroll on down the page till you see this pretty picture right here. This is CamChat 2.0. VIP Backstage Lounge. This is where we have been doing so much important research, folks. I cannot express my credit enough to Orlando and Flippin' Rob and Marie and all of you guys back there that have done such an incredible job. JoJo's, there's a list of people back there that have been working really hard. Mickey, I met one today named Mickey. Really hard, trying to make sure everything is on the up and up, which, again, we've got some questions. So where do we go from here? That is the next big question. Rantham lost. Steen supposedly lost, but we all have our questions about the Voss-Steen race, if you will. You know what I mean, guys? It's very questionable indeed what actually happened there, but that's neither here nor there, of course. That aside, we need to look at those numbers too. We haven't had a chance to dig through all the numbers. Fortunately, we'll get there. But what do we do? So first on our list, moving forward, we can wait a year and we can recall old Voss. However, this is a year. How much damage can we afford to have done in a year? A lot. We can't afford to have any done. They can do a lot in a year. By the time, and recalls, we seen how well California did their recall, right? It seems Newsom got out of the noose on that one. So definitely not our best option, at least in this host opinion, right? The option next on the table is don't show up at all. If the system's rigged, don't show up at all. Just don't do it. Folks, this is the worst option on the table. I cannot express how bad of an idea this really is. We have got to show up in droves. We have to overwhelm their system. If we all get out and vote, and they try to do what they've done best, and they come up 200% over, or 150% of the vote, you can't have 150% of people. This is people. You can only have 100%. There is no 150% of 100% of people. That doesn't exist. That's bad math. That's Common Core math, right? That's like that math we were looking at earlier. It doesn't add up. Does it? You can't have so if we go out and we overwhelm the vote, if every single person gets out there and lets their voice be heard, we the people, then they can't pull different techniques to overwhelm the system on their side. The numbers just won't make it. We're seeing the same problem in Arizona right now. They're still yet to come out, I do believe, to the best of my knowledge, at my last check of the information, they've still yet to come out and verify who's won that. Why? Because we know who's won that. We know that without a doubt who's already won that vote. Kerry Lake, of course. But they can't do that. They can't come out and say that. That doesn't work for their agenda. We have to get out and overwhelm, break their system. If their system's rigged, then we break it. That's what we do best as Americans. We see a problem like that, we find the solution, we find it quickly, and we find it in droves. We come together. That is one thing we do all as Americans when the time comes, is we come together. At least us in the American First Movement, I know that. We get out there and we overwhelm the system with every vote we've got. I'm not saying cheat like them. We're not them. We don't cheat. We do it the right way with our voice. We the people. We got us to this place. Remember, folks, we got us here. We got complacent. We thought those that we elected were doing what they're supposed to, and we turned our heads for a moment. And like any child, they got their hand in the cookie jar. So don't show up is the worst idea on this list, in my opinion. Number 3, write in. Now here is a chance. This isn't 100% chance, and they can still use their adjudication most likely to, validate what it says. We can't really read the handwriting. I could see them trying to pull something like this. So this isn't 100%, but it's a better chance. If we really show our voices, we the people, and we don't like who's chosen, because it looks to me like it's a dual horse race, and I don't like who they've chose. I don't care if Trump did endorse the man. How much did he say about the man's politics? Not a lot. He talked a lot about construction. He said a couple things that sent people on a bit of a search and found some stuff about Mr. Michaels that was unflattering. So it looks like that side has both ponies in the race, right? The one that even looks like our pony may not be, but one of their ponies painted with our colors. That's what I think's going on. So what if we had another pony that we know is a thoroughbred? We know has already proven themselves to be a race winner. Maybe somebody like Timothy Rantham, who's already put election integrity on the board. Perhaps a write-in vote is what is needed. I don't know. Just an idea. And why is this important for everybody around the world listening? Because I know this goes out across from Wisconsin, and I'm from Tennessee, and I make that very clear. Why is a guy from Tennessee interested in Wisconsin vote? Because we need to make noise. I live in a town just like you do, just like Ripon, Wisconsin. It isn't any different than Macon, Georgia, Tallahassee, Florida, or New York City. We're in the same country, we're in the same little town or big town. We have the same systems in place. This is what we need to do around us constantly. This doesn't just apply to Ripon, Wisconsin. They just happen to be the one that we're out of and we have data on. But this does not apply to it applies to Nashville, Tennessee, to your little podunk hole in the ground city that nobody's even heard of. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. Every place across this country is where this is important, and we need to all stand up and step in and make noise. This is one of the best choices we have. Make our voices heard, folks. Get involved. We have to be poll workers. We have to be watchers. We have to be looking at what's going on. We have to be voting. I get it. Not everybody has time to go out and be a poll watcher. I don't have that kind of time on my hands. I don't know about you guys, but I get it. Not everybody has that kind of time, but you can still do what you can. You can still use your voice to talk to your friends, to talk to those around you, to talk to that guy at the grocery store or that clerk checking you out at the gas station. To just let them know what the choice is that's out there. Campaign for your opponent. Or for your opponent, for your guy that you're with, proponent, sorry. Got a little lost in the words there. It happens time to time. That's one of the great things about live radio, right, guys? But seriously, get out there and be heard. That's what we have to do. We fell asleep at the wheel, folks, and we need to pick it back up. Speaking of picking up, pick up with the chat and also the backstage lounge over at the ripinrabbithole.com, of course. Check in with them here just a moment, and if you guys would like to join us, once again, we showed you how to go over there and join us and let your voice be freely heard. We will be cutting the YouTube feed, of course, here in just a moment. We were going to cut it a little sooner, but unfortunately we were not able to do that, so we will be cutting that YouTube feed here in 3, 2, 1. Do join us on the backstage lounge.